I have a reading series for today's show. Should we close it out with this one?
Yeah, hit it.
All right. I have to give a shout out and a hat tip to Corpse in Orbit, Michael Judge from the Death is Around the Corner podcast.
Here comes Michael Judge.
Here come the Judge. Yeah, here comes Michael Judge. He shared this one with me, and it's a doozy because I remember I think it was our third episode of the show, and when the show took off, in my opinion, is when we did the Ross Douthat Sailing with William F. Buckley article.
Yes.
We're on our way now, Ducky. Well, I mean, it's taken years, but we finally have a follow-up to that article, courtesy of William F. Buckley, writing in the Houston Chronicle in 2004. So this is we're dipping into the archive for this one, but just a return to the classic comedy character, William F. Buckley, reptile-like conservative man with a penchant for, let's just say, the finer things in life. The headline of this editorial is what the Michael Jackson case does to us. What the Michael Jackson case does to us. And this is Buckley is going to share his thoughts on the Michael Jackson case. So he begins. There is an aspect of the Michael Jackson affair that has been insufficiently explored. Namely, what exactly are we mad about? The general charge is that he has corrupted a young boy. The prosecutor's specific claims are that he had Angelo, we'll call him, to Neverland, talked him into the same bed used by Michael, perhaps even gave him a whiff of alcohol, and then off into a sexual dreamland. Jackson's lawyer says the fantasy is that of the prosecution, that his client extended to his 12-year-old guest nothing more than the warmth and hospitality he gives out as an expression of his nature. Yes, but did he do it? Off to a strong start. He refers to the accuser here as Angelo. I don't know why he has decided to use the name Angelo, but he refers to Angelo quite a bit in this piece. Continuing, he writes, the mystery lies in our society's confusion over sexual misconduct and the causes of it. Jump to Angelo, just 6 years older than he is now. At age 18, he would be free of any interference by the state in his private life, as we like to put it. When he is 18 plus 1 day, he can hire out to Hollywood studios to do live sex. He can, now that the Supreme Court has swept away the cobwebs on that issue, court other relationships with men old and young, though not under 18, even if they can't smoke together in a New York restaurant. Are we beginning to see the contours of Buckley's argument here?
I'm picking it up. It's got sort of a "do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law" vibe to
it. Yeah. Continuing, if what Michael Jackson allegedly did to Angelo is proved, what exactly do we then fear for Angelo as he grows up under the shadow of the sleep-in at Michael's? That his senses will have been deranged? It is entirely believable that a pedophile's activity with children menaces them psychologically. What is far less clear is the suspension of any menace attaching to sexual molestation after age 18. Our sex-driven culture is in overdrive, showing no signs of alarm, let alone dismay. Reports on the Michael Jackson case bring up data on the incidence of child molestation. We learned that in the past 30 years, there has been a tenfold increase in such activity. The question that is not being asked is, how is that so? Does this tell us that guardians of the law have been sleepy in the matter of preventing grown men, if that correctly describes Michael Jackson, from debauching boys? We're on our way now, Ducky. We're on our way now. So basically, it'll become a little clearer in a bit. He says, so let us assume what is always safe to assume, that a lot of misconduct always happens, and it is a matter of coincidence whether we uncover it, let alone do anything about it. We learned last week that there are 300,000 prostitutes in Spain. Well, there were 50,000 of them in Rome at the time of St. Augustine. Are we to presume that these prostitutes, male as well as female, set out in their profession because as children they were disoriented, treated like Angelo in Neverland? We appear to be saying in our fulminations against Michael Jackson that he might as well have influenced Angelo toward a life of dissolution, where sexual gratification dominates thought and act. But don't we speak with forked tongues? The American Civil Liberties Union stays up all night worrying lest anyone should get in the way of Angelo's sating himself on radio and on television, in movies and in books, with the sap of degeneracy. But if Michael Jackson did it with Angelo at age 12, he is damned and we are prepared to lead him into prison. If the lawyer could prove that notwithstanding his young appearance, Angelo had actually turned 18 the week before Neverland, Michael Jackson would be protected by the engines of license in whatever he did.
This is, all right. So I think we get his argument here. This would be a barn burner. This would be game over. if there were no differences between adults and children. That is the one unfortunate thing in the way of this. But other than that, it's a great
Well,
argument.
he's basically saying like something is either that the sexual debauchery, the sexual excess is wrong regardless, and that the age distinction that modern society erects is an arbitrary one meant to obscure that fact by saying, no, it's not good for kids, but it is okay for adults. And that is the lie. The reality is it's not good for anybody, and it is the state's prerogative to enforce that, not an arbitrary distinction to allow for the efflorescence of degeneracy.
It's the state's job to enforce that in fucking Saudi Arabia, sure.
That could be his argument, Matt, or just as easily his argument could be good. It could be that it's good for everyone, and that age is just a number, as R. Kelly and Aaliyah once said.
Well, no, it's the thing is, it's neither good nor bad. It is good or bad depending on who's doing it. As that's true of anything. Like that's the worldview is that like there is no good or evil. There is only the contextual right and wrong, which is determined by might, by strength, by hierarchy.
I mean, there's another thread in this article in this editorial that I think is interesting, which is that can you really debauch, in Buckley's words, a 12-year-old who has listened to rap music and seen boobs in movies? Because he seems to be saying that, like, if Michael Jackson did this to a kid who was not aware of our licentious popular culture, then that would be in some way debauching or corrupting or entreating them to sup from the sap of degeneracy, as he calls it. But I think he's sort of saying, like, if we can have sex in movies and music, then what Michael Jackson did is we have no right to complain about what Michael Jackson did. Continuing to write, he says, there is something studiously unattractive about the particular depravity of Michael Jackson. His struggle against aging gives him absolute title to Dorian Gray, the man who tried everything science could come up with to arrest the aging of his face, but it got all bollocksed up so that he now looks like a circus clown halfway through makeup. It was in a true sense charming that he thought to distract the world's attention from his problems by jumping on top of an automobile and dancing, his trademark since age 6. That didn't stop the fuzz, but the tides were with him, singing their loyalty and devotion, signaling the public's power to relegate Angelo to nothing more than one dance step in the ageless pursuit of pleasure. William F. Buckley, folks. He's on his way now, Ducky.